Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Now, before we dive into today's topic, I just want to say a very quick thank you to everyone who helped this channel grow so much in 2023. Every like, comment, share, super thanks and coffee was truly appreciated and really helped the channel grow more than I could have hoped for. And with everything on the horizon in 2024, I think I'll have a lot more to talk, or more likely rant about, so let's hope it's onwards and upwards for the channel. Right, so my last video of 2023 was about the incompetence of the Green Party and how much they prefer the stick to the carrot when it comes to eco-initiatives. So I think it's fitting to start 2024 by continuing with the Greens. So, are you ready for more? Now, this seems to be a divisive one. People either seem to be really for the idea, having seen it work in other countries, or really against it and quite angry about it. Can you guess which side I fall on? Go on, have a guess. So what is this new idea I'm talking about? It's a refundable deposit scheme for all our plastic bottles and cans, because we don't already pay for our green bins, or whatever colour the recycling bin is in your area. The deposit return scheme aims to boost the recycling rate for these drinks containers by charging a small refundable deposit for each plastic bottle or can. The scheme will include PET plastic bottles and aluminium and steel cans between 150ml and 3 litres. A deposit of 15 cents will apply to containers 500ml or less, and a deposit of 25 cents for each container above 500ml. So apparently our plastic and can recycling rates are too low and have fallen in 2023 according to the Environmental Protection Agency, even though the EPA admit that this is likely due to increased packaging. You know, that thing that we the consumer don't have a bloody say in. That thing that we the consumer have no control over. But yeah, that seems to be part of the impetus for this new scheme. But more on this later. So what will happen is, from next month, February 2024, we'll all pay that extra charge and then have to return the bottles to a store to get our deposit back. Oh, and those bottles and cans, yeah, they can't be crushed to, save some space before you can return them. One of the only silver linings in this scheme is that milk cartons are exempt. Phew. Between the sheer amount of tea and coffee my husband and I drink and our growing child whose bones need calcium, we'd be swimming in empty milk bottles. Right, so I know this has worked in other countries. I know that. And I've seen plenty of dismissive comments online to that effect. But let's not pretend there are no issues with this scheme. So let's talk about them, shall we? The biggest thing I just cannot get past is that we already pay for our green bins to be collected, and I always recycle everything that I can. Even though I now pay by weight for the green bin, I still recycle everything I can. So now I'm being punished. I now have 15 to 25 cents taken as a ransom each time I buy a bottle, and I can't use my own green bin, which I pay a yearly fee for on top of the pay-by-weight lifts, and I have to bring bulky, uncrushed waste back to a store to get my deposit back. How is this anything other than a giant pain in the arse? The convenience of the green bin being replaced by this cumbersome scheme. All it does is add extra steps and expense to something I already bloody well pay for. Pay ever-increasing prices for, incidentally. Remember when we were told that by privatising waste collection we'd see increased competition and low prices? Yeah, what a joke that was. And before you at me in the comments and say how the same schemes work perfectly fine for, in particular, our Nordic neighbours, let me make an observation. Scandinavia, Germany and others have had deposit return schemes for quite a number of decades. And from what I can gather, and I'm open to correction on this, they predated curbside collection of recycling bins in those countries. Ireland, on the other hand, has had curbside recycling bin collections since the early 2000s, which accepted plastic bottles from the get-go. So perhaps the fact that the DRS system came first in those countries has something to do with how successful they are. Those countries are conditioned to do this, whereas we are conditioned to squash them and pop them in the green bin. So yeah, I already pay for my recycling and I already sort my waste into the right bins. And that leads me on to the reasoning behind this new scheme in Ireland. The EPA says we don't recycle enough, right? A look at their report from September 21 says that only 28% of our plastic packaging waste was recycled in 2019. That sounds bad, right? Yeah, it does. Except it goes on to say that almost all remaining plastic packaging was sent for incineration, and that the share of plastic packaging waste incinerated for energy recovery has grown year on year from 44% in 2017 to 69% in 2019. Now, can anyone, please explain to me what exactly I or any other consumer can do about that? Because that sounds to me like the failures to meet our recycling targets are squarely on the shoulders of the waste management companies. If they are incinerating the plastic waste that I put in my green bin to be recycled for energy recovery I might add, that is highly bloody profitable, then maybe that's where the EPA should start their crusade to increase our recycling figures. But no, instead it's we, the bloody consumer, who have to deal with a ham-fisted solution to the wrong problem. No, we'll just bury our heads in the sand and ignore the big business profiting from incinerating the plastic waste, and instead blame the consumers who pay through the nose to do their bit for the environment by using their green bins to the full. F*** that. Why am I paying for a service that I am clearly not receiving? I am paying to have the contents of my green bin recycled. Why is this not happening? And can I get a refund as this service was not provided? And it doesn't stop there. All those reverse vending machines, yeah, they cost money. And the retrofitting of the stores to fit them in costs money. Over €200,000 in just one Tesco branch alone, for example. Not to mention all the admin and paperwork this new scheme entails. Now let me ask all those who think this scheme is the bee's knees. Who's going to ultimately pay for those costs that the retailers are being forced to bear? Because guess what? Tesco, SuperValu, Dunnes, or whoever else won't just write off those costs, you know. So what does that mean? We get to pay for it through increased prices. Yay! Just what we need in a cost of living crisis, more bloody inflation. And what about the nitty-gritty of actually engaging with this ransom scheme? Well, I live in an apartment. Apartments in Ireland do not have storage. So now I have to play Tetris to store bottles beside the other bins I already have, bottles and cans that can't be squashed to save some space, before I can return them to the store, to queue up at one of these reverse vending machines, to deposit them one at a time, and then queue up again at the till to get my cash back because the machines only give you a voucher. And what if you're like me and you get your shopping delivered? Will the delivery drivers now have to take back the empties and give you your refund? Not that I've heard anyway, so that means I now have to make an extra journey in my gas guzzler to return this shite, when before this brain fart idea I could just squash it all and put it in my green bin that I pay for and will continue to pay for. And no doubt will have to pay more for as prices continue to rise, even though from February I will be getting a reduced service. Fantastic. No thought at all given to the disabled or sick here either, for whom this new scheme might be quite the burden. But then, what's new in Ireland? No, we'll all just pay because waste management companies prefer to burn our plastics for profit instead of recycling them like we're paying them to do, and the people who have believed that they were doing the right thing and recycling all along. And you know what really kills me about this scheme? I would actually be completely on board with it if it only applied to the on-the-go sizes. And by that I mean the likes of bottles and cans that you'd buy at a newsagent's or the newsagent's section of a larger store. You know, the type that actually does make up a lot of the litter we see. This scheme would be ideal for that. I mean, I'd wager the vast majority of people do actually sort their rubbish as best they can and use their green bins to the full. But the on-the-go sizes, yeah, I can see how they'd fall through the cracks. You buy a bottle or a can at lunch, go for a walk, and some might just throw it away and litter. Others might wait to find a bin, any bin, to throw it into, so they don't get recycled. This scheme would make those people more likely to hold on to the bottle or can until they pass a shop, so they can get their deposit back. But no, that would be too smart for this country. We can never look at what other countries do and tailor it to suit our needs. We just copy it completely and then wonder why people are annoyed. It's just ridiculous. Again, I have no control over what happens once my green bin is collected. So if the EPA wants to hit targets, then force the waste management companies to stop incinerating public waste for energy recovery and actually fulfill the recycling service they are meant to be providing. This scheme honestly just makes my blood boil at how ill thought out it is. More burden placed on the consumer when we are not the problem. My time and my energy is finite, and this sort of held to ransom time sink just makes me resent the recycling I already do, and resent the greens even more than I already do. The green bin used to be free, by the way. Remember that? When they wanted to incentivize recycling and make it easy? You know, the carrot. But now it's all stick. We pay through the nose and still get blamed when targets aren't reached, and new schemes are implemented to us over some more. So on that note, can the Greens just off, keep off, and when they think they've off enough, off some more? And I think that's a nice note to leave this first rant of the year on, don't you think? So how do you feel about this new scheme? Are you on board with it? Do you think it can be implemented well? Or are you just sick of the Greens and their bright ideas? For those of you who maybe voted Green in the past, will you still give them your vote in the upcoming local elections? Let me know your reasoning in the comments below. And that concludes the first video of 2024. As I said, with everything on the horizon this year, I think we'll have plenty to discuss. So no doubt you'll be hearing from me quite a lot. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new content. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a super thanks, which is greatly appreciated. And a huge thank you to those of you that already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, slán go fóill.